Hi everyone, sorry about that. My name is Max and I am the CEO of CodeComplete. Today I'll talk about enterprise-level AI-powered developer tools. We're all familiar with products like Copilot and ChatGPT, but how can you integrate these tools directly into your enterprise organization? First, it's important to consider the stakeholders. Security needs to know, how do you protect your IP and your data? Will developer tools introduce any insecure practices? The legal team needs to know, how can you consider proper AI governance? Were the models trained on any proprietary or restrictive data? Will the model generate any output that jeopardizes our codebase or our IP? End users are your developers. The engineers, the QAs, the data scientists that build your product. And at a high level, they want tools that will mitigate the most tedious and painful parts of their jobs, such as writing boilerplate, testing, refactoring migrations, these kinds of things. And finally, the executive team needs to care about everything that we mentioned above. They take a more macroscopic approach and trade off all the risks together. So now that we know the stakeholders, let's outline a few key components of a solution here. We need to consider security, the integrity of our training data, the performance of our product, and the ability to add value to all parts of a developer workstream in a unified all-in-one solution. We'll go through each of these in more detail. So first, let's talk about security. Many enterprises have justifiably strict security requirements regarding what can enter and leave a company's servers. But the reality is that in order to use the most popular products on the market right now, you need to send your code and other sensitive data to third parties. Even in a multi-tenant solution with cloud providers, once your data crosses into their security boundary, you lose observability and accountability. Your data enters a black hole. So, sorry about this. Adopting these tools so quickly, without properly considering the side effects, can lead to huge problems. There's countless stories of existing tools like ChatGPT leaking private company data. And the last thing that you want is your core IP becoming publicly accessible to the world. What's the best way to solve this right now? Well, conceptually, the solution is quite simple. Host your LLM and train the model and the model infrastructure yourself. By hosting in your infrastructure, you can make sure that you don't send any data to third parties, and you can make sure that you have complete control over all of your data and your workflows. Of course, this is difficult to do in practice. Both model training and model serving are very expensive and require expertise to make performance. The security team and engineering team here need to work together to navigate these trade-offs and discuss how to build the best product. So now let's kind of switch gears and consider training data integrity. Code licensing is a major issue right now. GPT and its derivatives were trained on code with restrictive or even non-commercial use licenses. For example, a codebase that incorporates code from GPL repositories must also become GPL. This is obviously a huge problem for private companies that don't want to open source their codebase. In the video here, we actually see that Copilot is directly regurgitating GPL code, actually the GPL license. It's supposed to check against this kind of regurgitation, but it doesn't always work well in practice. As I'm sure you're all aware, there are ongoing copyright lawsuits that specifically deal with this issue. Regardless of how these lawsuits actually pan out, the safest thing we can do now is to only train on permissively licensed data. Now let's talk a bit about performance. Tools like ChatGPT and Copilot work really well for individuals and small teams. But enterprise companies have massive code bases with established coding patterns, best practices, and internally built libraries. Let's consider a language like C++. There's probably 20 different ways that you can write the same function in C++, but there's only one that respects the best practices at a company. And if you don't use those best practices, then you're writing bad code. You're adding tech debt, and you're making it harder for yourself, your reviewers, and future teammates. Our solution needs to be intimately aware of all of the specifics of our code base, our documentation, and our knowledge base in order to generate the most relevant output. At CodeComplete, we've actually been able to fine-tune our code generation models on customer data, and we found that this fine-tuning can more than double model performance. Finally, we need our product to offer a unified solution that provides value through the entire end-to-end software development workstream. Coding is only a part of a developer's job. They spend a lot of their time designing systems, reading and reviewing code, deploying code, and documenting, among others. By having all of these functionalities under one roof, you are reducing friction and cognitive load. You're setting up the roadmap for how developers will interact with your code base and your product in the future. Let me play this. So, what does this look like when we all put it all together? Imagine you're a software engineer and you just opened up your IDE. You want to write a class, so your coding assistant suggests code that understands the classes, schemas, and the best practices at your company because it was trained on your proprietary code base. Let's say you hate writing comments and documentation, but here, you simply highlight the code and you get all the documentation for your function so you can preserve institutional knowledge. Let's say you also want some help with unit tests. Again, you highlight that block of code and the system will automatically generate unit tests for you. And then, finally, maybe you still have some questions about the code base. So you can interact with your code through natural language. Again, highlight the block of text and open up the chat interface. Here, we ask the model, how can we make our code a bit more performant? The model is aware of the SQL schemas, so it suggests that we just filter based on the partition column. This is our vision at CodeComplete, and this is the value that we can deliver for our customers. Enterprises can help engineers greatly improve their developer productivity while also remaining secure and compliant. And yeah, thanks everyone for attending the talk. My name is Max Liu, and I'm the CEO of CodeComplete. If you have any questions, feel free to find me after this chat or reach out directly. Thanks, Ed.